This video is sponsored by Squarespace. In October of 2015, Sony released the a7S II.
An a7S Mark II.
I know this thing yields an incredible picture.
5 years later, in September of 2020, they followed it up with the a7S III.
It has everything that you would ever want in a mirrorless camera.
Like my all-time favorite camera. It honestly gave us everything and more in this low-light, video-first, mirrorless camera body. So much so that, hey, it's 5 years later, 2025, and this camera still holds its own. It's still the camera I go to first. But here's the thing, we're at that next 5-year mark. I'm seeing the YouTube videos, I'm seeing the articles of people being like, where's the next A7S? Where's the next FX3? Not just because we're at this arbitrary 5-year mark, but because other camera companies are kind of finally stepping up. Sony has definitely released some new cool cameras, but what they do a lot is they recycle the same sensor in different camera bodies. Smart for them because they have a new camera to market every quarter, and honestly, it's good for consumers because you just have more options. More options is good. But after Sony essentially put the a7 IV in an FX3 body and called it FX2, I could sense a vibe shift. I feel like people were expecting the a7 V, maybe not the FX2. People want a proper new camera from Sony, whether it's the next a7S or the a7 V. Sony has been leading the mirrorless camera market for so freaking long that the expectations, one could say that they are sky high right now. So in this video, I want to walk you through what the heck is happening in the camera world, a little bit of an update on my Sony setup, because I've actually been purchasing a lot of lenses recently, and also more importantly, I'm going to give an update to my Sony buyer's guide chart. Should you be buying a Sony in 2025 and 2026? I know me, I am fully invested in the system. I am with Sony for the foreseeable future. I'm a big fan, but I feel like people got options now. Okay, y'all gotta come with me to the kitchen because I'm spreading out all of my camera gear on my kitchen table. Did I say hello and that my name is Sarad rhymes with Peachy? Welcome to another video. Okay, so here are all my cameras, all my Sony cameras for the what's in my camera bag section of the video. Okay, let's talk about what has been going on in the camera world because it's a lot. With the iPhone 17 Pro coming out, a lot of people have been talking about open gate. If you're not super familiar with that, it's essentially the ability to, a lot of the time, shoot with the full sensor on your camera instead of just the 16:9 crop of it. This enables you to capture an image that is 3:2 instead of 16:9. So if you need to crop later for both horizontal and vertical content, you just have more vertical real estate to work with, so that is much easier. A lot of people are expecting open gate from cameras now. So we've had the Panasonic Lumix S5 Mark II that has had open gate. The brand new Canon EOS C50 that just came out. So this also has a 3:2 open gate mode where it captures, you know, the full height and width of the 7K sensor. It's a full frame camera just like the S5 II. This new Canon also supports internal 12-bit RAW at 7K up to 60 frames per second. It does 4K at 120 frames per second, 2K at 180 frames per second in crop mode. Recent videos about the Canon C50 are calling it an FX3 killer. There's a lot of similarities. You know, there's a top handle, it's video first, but I will say I feel like it actually does the Canon kind of a disservice because the FX3 came out in 2021. Like, I hope a camera coming out in 2025 is better than a camera that came out in 2021. You know, Canon has been notoriously behind, so I'm glad they're catching up, but these features are actually super impressive. Can't believe I'm saying that. Is Sarah talking nice about Canon? Yes. So I feel like it's just weird to compare it to the FX3 at this point, but it is making Sony users be like, hey, what's this next FX3 gonna look like? And even Nikon is releasing interesting cameras. Can you believe it? So the Nikon ZR, this is their first real like Red collaboration after the acquisition. Can you believe it? Red and Nikon. That was such shocking news when I first heard it. It's a full frame camera that leverages Red's color science. It has internal RAW recording. It supports 6K at 60 frames per second. It has 32-bit float audio recording, and it has this massive, beautiful 4-inch screen on a very small camera body. When I started seeing that screen, I got a little jealous. I was like, wow, if I had that on my a7S or my FX3, I would not need to use a monitor. Well, I would still prefer it if I was filming for both horizontal and vertical, so I could have the guidelines on the monitor, but whatever, that screen on the Nikon ZR is gorgeous. And you get all of that for only $2,199. But you know, Nikon is still gonna potato. They put a micro HDMI in there instead of a full-size HDMI. I have no idea why. But regardless, the fact that we are talking about Nikon again, and the Z9 still is, you know, a great mirrorless camera for both video and photo. But hey, they're back in the conversation. So that's impressive in itself. So we're starting to see a lot of great options out there. So why choose Sony in 2025 or 2026? So as you can see here, me personally, I am in it. I am in with Sony for the next decade. These cameras that I have here, the FX3, FX6, and all of the lenses, like this setup is future-proof for me, I would say for the next like 5 to 8 years. Of course, when Sony releases a new camera, I will probably most definitely replace my a7S III with it just to make sure, you know, I have like their new flagship and their new tech. I'm always excited to talk about that. But when it comes to shooting YouTube videos with an A cam and a B cam, or interviews with 3 cams, right? 2 close-ups and a wide, this system is super robust for me, and I invested in it years ago, you know, and it has done great for me. Once you pick one camera system, the fun kind of starts with the lenses, because you really want to invest in the lenses. And once you're running 3 cam setups too, you start to realize like, oh, you need a decent amount of lenses. And I'm such a big fan of Sony lenses. You know, they're not just like beautiful colors, beautiful contrast, but they're obsessed with making them as small as possible. So just the sheer amount of lenses they release is kind of crazy. There is like always something that I feel like I'm like lusting after, a new lens that they're releasing. I know a lot of people kind of cover their basis with like, okay, let's get a 16-35, a 24-70, and then they start to go towards like crazy anamorphic lenses and cinema lenses. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but I prefer the route of just like reliable, great looking Sony lenses that are native to the cameras I'm using, so I can really utilize the, you know, reliable IBIS, but also some of my lenses have optical image stabilization. That is really great for run and gun stuff. Being able to depend on the fantastic autofocus, such a big fan of that. And again, their lenses are very small in comparison to, honestly, like Canon's lenses. They're huge. Lumix does a good job with the size of their lenses, but I'm a big fan of just like Sony's primes are just so small and compact. So quick rundown of my setup. The bodies haven't changed a lot, but I've actually been buying a lot of prime lenses, which has been fun. So in the beginning, I was mixing and matching like Blackmagic cameras and GH5s and even Canon cameras. I had an a7S II, but that camera still didn't like get me to invest in multiple Sony bodies. So when the a7S III came out and they had the updated color science, it really seemed like Sony was just like pushing the boundaries, you know, 4K 120 in 2020. That was crazy. That was kind of the start where I was like, all right, I think I'm going Sony. So a7S III, that really started it all. The 24-105 is just such a classic, especially if you're doing event videography, wedding videography. I feel like it's a must-have. It has the optical image stabilization, which is really handy. If you combine that with the in-body stabilization, forget about it. You don't need a monopod. You don't need anything. You can just handhold the crap out of it. So I actually have 2 of these lenses, 2 24-105s, because once I started doing interview stuff and I needed 3 cam setups or a B cam setups, it's always handy to just have 2 of the same lenses. Not only are they just gonna like look identical, but this 24-105 range is just perfect for run and gun stuff. You always gotta have a classic 16-35. I rocked the Zeiss F4 16-35 for a while. And then I went with the Tamron, and then I had kind of a will they, won't they with the G Master 16-35 f2.8. But that was just such a big lens, and I usually use this focal length for more vlogging and self-filming. And so when the Sony 16-25 came out, f2.8, I was like, this is the one. It is absolutely perfect for run and gun stuff or vlogging. It has a very small minimum focusing distance, so that's good for like kind of, you know, just filming close-ups and stuff. On the 25 side, it is a little short, so that gets a little annoying, but just like look how small this lens is. The dream would be the G Master would be this size, but that's just like not possible. And then the new 24-70 f2.8 came out, just a much smaller lens than the Mark I, and it just looks so good. I mean, this is just like a beautiful lens. I have 2 of these as well. So 2 24-70 f2.8s, 2 24-105s. The other 24-70 is on this FX3 setup that I have going on here. I resisted the cage life for so long, but the fact that I'm shooting more like horizontal and vertical at the same time. It's just nice to have those different mounting points. So, you know, I can mount a handle over here. So we got 2 handles. And so the FX3 overall, since it is the more of the cinema line, it's just much easier to mount things, and it has this really great audio handle. So we have some extra mounting points here on the audio handle. So I could put the monitor on the very top, audio on the side. And yeah, after the A7S III, I was like, okay, it's time to get like an all Sony setup for interviews, podcasts, all of those things. So I kind of just like went all in, purchased 2 FX3s. And this right over here was my setup for a while. I still love the A7S III so much. You got the EVF, it's great for shooting outside. It's crazy that this is a 5-year-old camera. This setup served me well for a really long time, and having versatile zoom lenses are just really easy to get beautiful images. Over here is when I started to have fun, and I started to be like, hey, I hate using ND filters. Oh my gosh, what if we actually got a proper video camera, cinema camera body, internal NDs, a better monitor. You have a really great handle over here. You have SDI, you have time code, you know, HDMI, of course. Audio handle, is it great? It's not like the best handle, but still a lot of great mounting points. And yeah, I've enjoyed the FX6 for years now. They've been like my default studio cameras. So a lot of the time they just like live in whatever studio I'm in. And then if I have a primarily outdoor shoot and the videographers I'm working with are capable with FX6s, then of course I'm bringing that with me too. And so I have 2 of these. So if I'm ever traveling and I need an A or a B cam or a 3 cam podcast interview shoot, basically it depends if I have videographers or not. Like, okay, if I have help, I'll bring the bigger setup, the FX6s. If I don't have help and I'm trying to stay more compact, I just stick with this setup over here. What has been so fun recently is just investing in prime glass. I went the more practical route with all the zoom lenses for the first few years of my Sony journey, but now just getting into prime lenses has been so fun because for me, when you're shooting in smaller rooms, smaller studios, having the lower f-stop just helps so much create that depth of field. I have a 50mm 1.2, a 24mm 1.4. This is actually a recent purchase. I just bought one off of eBay because the 35mm 1.4 that I'm shooting with right now was actually just a little bit too tight for my setup at my desk. I wanted something that was a little bit wider, so I was like 24-1.4, let's go. And then this one, the 14-1.8. This is such a quirky lens. You can tell the lens element is like a fisheye, right? This is probably my favorite lens. For a while, I was vlogging with it, but you just look insane when you vlog with this. Your nose and your forehead just becomes like ginormo, but you can get some really cool shots with this. I love this lens so much. And a couple years ago, I was actually shooting a lot of real estate stuff, and this was just like so cool for that. So yeah, I am just like full on with my primes right now. Like 24-105, I hardly know her. Some of you guys watching this are probably like, this is so overkill, what the heck? But okay, keep in mind that yes, this is my job, but also I'm a gearhead through and through. I mean, I could make a case for why I need all this, but I probably don't truly need, I feel like I need all the lenses. I probably don't have to have the FX6s, but oh my gosh, internal ND, having a real like video body like this is actually just such a nice to have. But yeah, not only is it my job, but I'm just obsessed with this stuff. So that's not good for your wallet because it's also part tax write-off and it's part just fun. I'm living the dream over here, you know? Okay, but for reals, if you're considering a Sony body in 2025 or in 2026, I've updated my chart. Let's spend the last few minutes talking about this. Before I reveal my new Sony buyer's guide chart, hey, a quick word from our sponsor, Squarespace. If you don't have a website by now, what are you doing? If you're a creative professional trying to get your work out there, or maybe a restaurant or a store that sells physical or digital goods, you have to have a beautiful online presence. You guys know that I've used Squarespace now for my personal website, sarad for almost 10 years now. It has been my one-stop shop to show off my work, to sell merch, physical goods, and now even digital goods with my new course, Studio Setup, all with Squarespace. I know building a website can be super intimidating, but it's literally never been this easy. You can start with Blueprint AI. This is Squarespace AI enhanced website builder where you can get a fully custom website in just a few steps with some basic information. And like I said with sarad using Squarespace to sell is amazing. Whether it is physical goods or selling memberships, courses, you can put videos behind a paywall, do a really cool paid community. Really, the sky is the limit on what you can do. Even recently, I used their their scheduling features to schedule consult calls with people who bought studio setup. I don't have to use any other services because it's all built into Squarespace. If you're like, huh, okay, I think it's time. I think it's time to take that step. Well, you can go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to get started today, go to squarespace.com/Saradici, that's me, and use offer code Saradici for 10% off your first purchase of a domain or website. Okay, back to talking cameras, my favorite topic. Besides Squarespace, of course. Oh wait, I didn't even tell you the camera I was shooting this video on. Maybe I do have a problem. The last Sony camera that I have, the a7 IV. So just the extra megapixels is nice when I'm shooting like photo first, but it's also really nice for video, you know, so it's still full frame. All the cameras I have are full frame. I am team full frame all the way, baby. But I bought this camera after I was using the Leica Q2 for like all of my family photo shoots, Christmas, Thanksgiving, you know, a lot of cousins running around. Oh my gosh, I love that camera so much for lifestyle photography, but I started to crave some more frames per second when I'm shooting very fast children around, and the better continuous autofocus and the ability to switch over to video mode and have really good in-body image stabilization, you know, just having like a really great hybrid camera. So the a7 IV is that. You have the extra megapixels, so it's better for photos, you know, you can crop in a little bit more, and I'll use it for shooting thumbnails and stuff, so it's kind of like my photo Sony camera that I can still use all the same lenses with, but probably totally not necessary. I could just use my A7S for that. But again, living the dream over here. Okay, so I still get this question all the time. What camera should I buy? As we discussed earlier, I think it is less obvious that you should just 100% go with Sony. Now, if you're just now starting to build up your camera rig, remember it's gonna pay off in the long run to just stick with one ecosystem. So you have to think about what's important to you. You're really buying into this like huge ecosystem that really works for me as a video first creator, and having some of those obvious things of really good autofocus, really great lens selection, stabilization, blah, blah, blah. There's so much. We've already covered a lot of it. But where do you start? Because they have so many cameras. So this is my updated chart. Yes, they've released some new cameras in the meantime, but also, it's becoming very obvious how they decide to release cameras. So I changed my chart to organize them based on the sensor that they're using. So their game plan is kind of like, hey, let's take one sensor and put it in a lot of different bodies that appeals to people in different sectors, right? So at the top, we have your hybrid cameras, and also kind of just like the vlog category, maybe the people who are starting out. We have the photo category, video category, and then here on the left, we have the different sensors. So we have the 12 megapixel full frame. This sensor is usually in video first cameras. We have the 33 megapixel full frame, and this is usually used for their hybrid cameras, so really good for both photo and video. Then we have the 61 megapixel full frame. This is typically for photo first creators, for your photographers. We have the 26 megapixel APS-C sensors. This is the smaller sensor. We're no longer talking full frame. And then we have the 20 megapixel 1-inch. So this is their smallest sensor. So full frame, APS-C, 1-inch, small sensor. Bigger the sensor, bigger the pixels, captures more light. It's easier to achieve that beautiful depth of field. Many other things that make me choose full frame, but that is a big internet argument. Full frame versus APS-C, does it even matter? I think it matters. 12 megapixel full frame video first. The a7S III is in this category. So this same sensor or similar sensor is in all of these cameras. So this sensor is typically for video first people, videographers, video creators. Video matters to you. Not a ton of megapixels, but it's great in low light. The reason why I have the a7S III in the photo category is because it's already a video first camera. But if photos are also important to you, go with the a7S III because you still have the EVF. However, we're around that 5-year mark. Everyone says a new one has to be around the corner, but I have no idea. If you need a camera now, another reason why I'm making this video is Sony has really good discounts around the Black Friday time. So I'll make sure to put all of my links in the description below so you can check those out. So if you are fully video, that's where you want to go with an FX3 or an FX6. So the FX3 has, you know, that same exact full frame 12 megapixel sensor in it. They don't disclose that it's the same sensor in the FX6, but it's pretty much the same sensor. You get this audio top handle that is really great for video and just more mounting points. And of course you don't have the EVF, so you can still shoot photos with it, of course, but I really like having an EVF when shooting photos. And then you have the hybrid vlog option. This is the ZV-E1. The ZV cameras are kind of like the vlogging cameras. They're gonna be lower cost. They might be missing some features, but they have a lot of cool, actually additional software features that even the A7S or FX3 doesn't have. Like it has an automatic smooth skinning feature, you know, I feel like I would enjoy sometimes. So that is that full frame 12 megapixel video first sensor. Boom. Done. Let's move on to the 33 megapixel full frame sensor. This is really for their hybrid cameras. That's what I'm shooting on right now. You got more megapixels, higher megapixels, still full frame, so that's going to be better for photos. But then a con of this is it's not as good in low light as a 12 megapixel, but it's still Sony, so it's pretty good in low light. The photo first option is the A7 IV, what I'm shooting on right now, because you still have that EVF, and it's just a great all-around camera. This is definitely the Sony camera to start with for any beginners if you're serious about content, that I would recommend. But again, gosh, the rumor mill has been going on for about a year about, hey, the new A7 V, but again, if you need a camera now, you need a camera now. And then, you know, once you level up in the future and you need a B cam, then this camera that you buy now can always be like downgraded to your B cam, right? And then the video first one, which was actually released recently, is the FX2. So similar to the FX3 body, cinema first, right? But it has this full frame sensor in it instead of this one. And they added a very interesting, well, I said no EVF, but I guess it has an EVF. It's like an old school camcorder EVF type cinema thing. I've lost the words for what they call it, but I'll put it on screen here. So it's actually a great middle ground. It's like a video first camera body, but you have that eyepiece, so you can also shoot a lot of great outdoor footage on it or photos with it. So that's a cool release, I guess, but you know, not something I feel compelled to buy, but it's an option. And then the A7C II, again, that is that hybrid, more vlog body. It is just a way smaller body, very similar to like the A6700 body, except it's a full frame sensor. So if you're really looking for compact, but you still want interchangeable lenses, that's what you go with. Then moving on to the 61 megapixel full frame. So this is for our photo first creators, AKA photographers, as they call them. You might be kind of confused with this orientation, and that I have the new RX1 R3 here in the photo category of the photo first sensor. This is because this camera is truly for just like the photo purist. It is essentially Sony's answer to the Leica Q2 and the Leica QR. It is a fixed lens system, but it's super small, super compact, and just a super fun camera. I have the Leica Q2. I love just the vibe of Leica photos and the character that I get from that camera. I don't want to say like these images look sterile or anything like that, because like that's just so snobbish to say, but you really are getting a similar image out of this camera that you would with like an A7R5. And like my Sony cameras are my professional cameras, and so when it comes to those like fun point and shoot cameras, having a Q2 is just like fun for me, and I like the different look because I'm so used to the Sony look. But yeah, I'm like annoying myself with this conversation. Okay, so we have the A7R5 here in the video category, just because if you are a photographer first, you make your living by taking photos, of course you're gonna go with something like the A7R5. You got all of those megapixels, that is great for photos, great for cropping in. But if video is also important to you, the A7R5 actually has some killer video features like 8K. That's something that the video first cameras don't even have. This is actually like a somewhat recent camera, a lot of cool stuff in this camera. And then the hybrid vlog version of this, you have the A7C R. Small body, still interchangeable lenses, very powerful camera if you want all of that power and all of those megapixels in a very small body. And then we have our APS-C cameras, the 26 megapixel, you know, smaller sensor, smaller than the full frame. You're gonna get a lot of cost savings if you go the APS-C route, and even the lenses are smaller. So for the photo first people, the A6700, again, it still has great video because it's a Sony camera, but you have the EVF, all those things. For the hybrid vlog, where you want some of those ZV software features and you want some cost savings, the ZV-E10 II, this should say 2 here. For the video first people, you have the FX30. So again, this APS-C sensor in the cinema first body. You know, you have the extra cooling, all of that great stuff that you have in the FX3 and the FX2. FX2. There is an asterisk here because this actually isn't the same exact sensor, but it's like a close cousin. So they took this sensor and they did a lot of tweaks to make it better for video with oversampling and stuff, and that's what's in the FX30. And then we have, you know, the tiny, small, fixed lens, more vloggy cameras. Has the smaller sensor, the 1-inch sensor. We have the RX100 5 through 7 for the photo first people, and then the ZV-1-2 for the video first, for the vlogging first people. I did so many OG NYC vlogs on the RX100 5 though. Still such a great camera, great vibe. I love this series. I actually still like the RX100s better than the ZV-1s, but that's a conversation for another day. Okay, and yeah, oh, I forgot to mention they're big guys. So you have the A1-2 and the A9 III. These are like the best of the best. Sony's most expensive cameras. They're both full frame sensors. The A9 III is basically if you are a professional photographer shooting NFL games or F1 cars, or you just need a lot of frames per second with your photos and all of the professional features, A9 III, that's for those people, like the photojournalistic people. The A9 III also has Sony's first global shutter sensor. So you literally have 0 rolling shutter. And then the A1-2, it's even overkill for what I do, but if you want all of the technology in one camera, the A1-2 is the camera for you. It's the most expensive. It's totally overkill. It shoots 8K. It really does it all. So if you just got money to light on fire, just get the A1-2. It'll be fun. Okay, so now we're finally at the end of this video. This is gonna be a long one. I can already tell, but oh my gosh, I could talk days about cameras, so thank you for entertaining me. I hope this was helpful. I had fun. I hope you had fun. I hope this spurs some very supportive and nice conversations down in the comments down below, because everyone knows that people are so nice when it comes to talking about camera brands. Yeah, let me know if you like this video. Hit that subscribe button down below for new videos every single week. Check out my Squarespace link in the description below. And until next time, everyone, stay peachy. Okay, bye.